Under the day, another year passed by. 2025 was... It also seems to be the year of holy shit, some of my favorite franchises are turning 10 and I'm starting to get old. But before I start to have an existential crisis and think about how much time is moving faster the more you age, if you're new here or randomly clicked on this video for starters, hey there! The name's MaxAC. Welcome to the chaos that is my channel. I regularly cover manga that are criminally underrated or obscure, so if that sounds interesting to you, you can check out my channel link in the description below. As for the rest of my audience, you already know what you're here for. It's that time of year again, where I talk about the various media I consumed over the past year, that being video games, TV shows, and movies. And oh boy, there is a lot I want to talk about that I wouldn't be surprised if this video is an hour long or even more. If you'd like to hear my specific thoughts about a particular game, movie, or show, I included timestamps in the description for those who prefer to skip ahead. However, if you're willing to watch through the entire video, then please, take back, relax, grab some snacks, and enjoy the things that I played/watched in 2025. Starting with... Alright, come on, let's get this over with. There are not enough words in the dictionary to describe the major drama/controversies hoyoverse had this year. No, that's not true. I guess if there's one word to describe it, it would be messy. Very, very, very messy, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. So anyway, starting with Genshin, it's crazy how the reception for this game did a full 180. Going from ending the Notland Archon quest with an air of disappointment that made some of the fanbase shrug their shoulders and said to dropping major lore drops on the overarching world and releasing patches that are starting to assemble character plot lines that were built up over the years. Like, I'm sorry, we had MaxAC content? Dainsley showing up and participating in mainline Archon quests in current year? And I can't talk about Genshin without mentioning the biggest update that happened being Nodcry, the region that is definitely going to make or break Genshin on how this game's story will unfold. And so far, the game has shown improvement in both its story and gameplay. Granted, like I said last year, getting updates on Genshin is like the equivalent of wishing on a monkey's paw, and the same somewhat applies here in this version, but I will give the devs this, they are taking steps in making sure leveling up characters is going to be a bit more streamlined. Slowly but frustratingly steady. The Nodcry region might be my second favorite region to explore, right up there with Fontaine, with the whole polarity, mirror puzzles, and ceiling gliding mechanics. After playing this game for 5 years now, I realized that I'm definitely going to put this game on the back burner compared to hoyoverse's other major titles, as I don't want to get burnout for being overwhelmed by the overworld and its exploration. I'm currently going back to the other regions and completing the world quest, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to stay on top when it comes to the current story. After all, a certain character that has been rumored to show up is about to get their cheeks clapped, but I need to see this takedown. Switching over to Star Rail, I have somewhat complicated feelings regarding the current state of the game, because with every hype moment and spectacular cutscene, there's a limited number of events the devs give out in every patch, and endgame content that feel more like a chore rather than a challenge, with its major enemy HP inflation that requires you to either have the current release character or a busted unit on your team to get all the rewards it offers. Like, I know that's the whole point of getting you to pull for that character and power creep is a thing, but this game takes power creep to a whole nother level. It's a messy rabbit hole I don't even want to touch within a 10-foot pole or get into right now. At least the highly anticipated and furious story that the developers say will take an entire year to tell delivered. Although I don't envy anyone with a short attention span who had to go through the 50+ hours of story. There's a reason why the devs implemented a skip button that summarizes what's happening on screen. While some of the twists were predictable, the way it was executed and how it plays into the world building of the HSR universe was insane, and made everyone in the HSR community single-handedly hate this one freaking android. I knew this dude was sus from the start. Anyone who describes themselves as simple or a humble person immediately raises red flags in my brain. So imagine the satisfying look on my face when he finally gets the karma he deserves, and pretty much solidifies that the main trio are just as much as a protagonist as the Trailblazer, as both Donghung and March get development for their individual stories. especially March, who had the biggest lore drop for our origins and story this year. We don't know what planet the Astral Express will board next as of the time of me writing this, but what I do know is that I hope the next mainline story won't be as dialogue bloated as this one. Moving on to the last Hoyoverse game, ZZZ might be my favorite game to play this year out of the entire Hoyo catalog. This year, the devs took the time to improve the gameplay mechanics, which now includes agents that specialize in off-field damage, like companions, anomaly flowers, and idols who are just there to provide busted buffs. Making the 3-player team feel more like a unit, so instead of one major DPS dealing damage, you'll have 3 potentially beating the crap out of the boss. Additionally, since the start of the new year, despite having the lowest revenue compared to the other Hoyo games, they somehow managed to add a bunch of new assets, including new buffs for standard and recent release characters, multiple quality of life updates, and outfits for several characters and the proxy siblings, along with customizable accessories. It's crazy that this game is only a year old and the devs do something that both Genshin and HSR players have been asking for a while now. As for the main story, similar to last year, the pacing is more on the slower side, focusing more on the characters while sprinkling in plot elements. Which I'm personally fine with, as the low-stakes seasonal TV setting is a nice refresher from the major high-stakes world-saving stories that the other 2 games have. And once again, by the time I'm writing this, the devs are going to adjust their story so that the plot is more cohesive, which was revealed in a recent interview. Including more relevance to the AI plotline, which thank God, because ever since version 2.0 or season 2 as the devs like to call it felt like Fairy was being put more and more on the wayside. This just shows the level of commitment these devs have to make sure to keep their player base happy. It makes sense why they have to, considering the competition, but I have faith that the ZZZ team will one day have their chance to shine. And before I move on to the next game, I wanted to show you guys this because it was too funny to pass up. Please enjoy. Alright, this is either going to be really funny or really cringe. Hoyoverse, I have come to bargain. If I manage to get at least 3 copies of Manato, 3 copies of his signature weapon, Lucia, and her signature weapon, I will buy Yosoha's and Alice's swimsuits. I know that's easier said than done considering I have like 200 pulls right now, but you never know when it comes to gacha. Pulling a 4-star that you want is a lot harder than pulling a 5-star that you want. At least you'll win your 50-50 after a certain amount of pulls. And speaking of 50-50, after winning 4 50-50s in a row, I have a sneaking suspicion that I might lose this one. So yeah, that is my bargain, Hoyoverse. Let's see if you hold up your end of the deal. And yeah, let's get started with these polls. Okay, only 1A this time. Let's see, it will be my first Manato. And it's a Piper. Okay, 2A's this time. Hey, there's my first one! Add it on to the counter. And it's a bed and weapon. Okay, 2A's again. Let's see if I'll get another Manato and another Piper. What's it? The cult. I'm not even surprised that Nicole showed up. She always shows up. Like, seriously. Like, it would be really interesting. What the? How many pulls was that? What the hell? Oh, already? Okay, if I'm gonna lose by 50-50, at least give me a Manato, please, game. Hey, I got my second one. Alright. Alright, it's time for the big one. Am I gonna win my 50-50? I'm nervous. You know what? I don't even care. I see this as an absolute win. I'm getting all the furries in this. And also, I think this might be like my C3 Lycon. I'm like halfway there to maxing out my boy. Well, since I'm gonna be guaranteed on these next few pulls, let's see how many Manatos I'll get. Hey! That's 3! We got 3! Oh man! And oh my god, Piper! I feel like I should just add a Piper counter when I'm editing this. Should I? Yeah, probably not. You know, I was kind of joking about getting all the furries. God damn it. Oh my god. We got Manato number 4. Man, you're just giving me Manatos. Oh my. Wait, hold on. I just realized, did I max out my Manato? Did I max out my Manato? Did I get like an M6 Manato? Oh, never mind. This is the M6 Manato. And here's my Lucia. Alright, time to get the weapon. Also, I just love that I'm guaranteed to get an S-break weapon in 71 pulls, and I have the exact amount of pulls. Alright, well, you managed to hold up one half of your bargain, hoyoverse. Let's see how well you do with these weapons. And the first A is the Manato weapon. Okay, let's see just how... Oh, I have 2. Neat. I mean, I don't ask for this, but I feel like they're giving more than I bargained for. What is this witchcraft? What? Okay, you know what? I'm never bargaining with Hoyo again. I never bargaining with Hoyo again. Like what? What? Oh. At least I got my weapon. What the fuck? Oh man. Alright. I would say that was a very productive full session. Just give me a minute. I need some building to do. Well, hoyoverse, I've learned to never bargain with you because I somehow managed to get an M6 M5 Manato, Lucia and her signature weapon, managed to upgrade both him and her, and to fulfill my promise, I bought Yuzuha's and Alice's swimsuits. Well, there's only one thing left to do now. Here's a question for everyone. What happens if you put Sukuna, Ito, and Akechi all in a room together? Well, the answer will probably be a sitcom called Two Villains in a Himbo, but if you're talking about their real-life voices of Ray Chase, Max Middleman, and Robbie Damon, then they'll form a brand new video game studio called Sassy Chap Games. And with the help of Team 17, they released Date Everything, my personal pick for Game of the Year. A 3D sandbox dating sim where you pretty much do what the title says. You date everything. And I mean everything. I'm talking couches, chairs, stairs, whatever the hell this asshole is supposed to be. The floor, the ceiling, your bed, basically any household item you can think of, you can talk to. Yes, you can even talk to them. There are 100 or 102 if you buy the DLC dateables to find in the house, each with its own unique personality. And like a dating sim, your responses to them will determine the outcome, resulting in a love, friendship, or hate ending. With that last one causing Regina George to pop up and be like, well, hey there, good looking, how you do it? Are you suddenly talking to your household objects? Well, you got fired from your job, which you're only there for about 5 minutes, and some strange person sent you a strange text along with giving you a pair of sentient glasses after crashing through your window. The glasses are giving you a fun way to explore and acknowledge your objects, and you have nothing else to do, so why not? The world is your oyster, and there are tons of fun shenanigans to discover. From having a D&D campaign with Best Boy, to going on an Indiana Jones style adventure, to having a rap battle with your toilet, to battling an eldritch abomination that is your dishwasher, to my personal favorite, having the option to not participate in this dating sim and go outside where you get this cutscene.
You touch the grass outside your home, and it feels sweetly chill with dew. After all, what's the worst that could happen? Your life, unchanged, is full of wonderful things to do. The Dateviators are simply someone else's problem now.
Oh yeah, did I mention that the devs are a bunch of nerds? Because along with having a time management and skill point system similar to the Persona games, you can also play Who's That Voice Actor, as the game is fully voice acted with some familiar voices you might recognize, such as Dante Bosco, Gray Delisle, Cherami Lee, my new favorite Ben Ball Maceda, and if I had a nickel every time Bryce Peppenbrook voiced the cat character, I'll have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's hilarious that it happened twice. I had an absolute blast playing this game with its goofy, somewhere tongue-in-cheek humor, and surprisingly genuine and sincere moments. The only main gripe that I have with the game is that it doesn't have a fast forward option when you start a new game plus, or an autoplay button for the dialogue, leaving me no choice but to burn a hole to my controller after endlessly spamming X. There is technically a skip option, but that's only at the beginning during the tutorial stage. But other than that, I really fell in love with this game, and I'm happy that the devs are finding some success with this new game. So if you're a fan of nerd culture and don't mind the dating sim aspect, then I highly recommend checking out Date Everything, and I can't wait to see what these devs cook up next. Welcome to the world of 2010, where Cartoon Network reigned supreme and several animated movies became legendary classics, and where a young MaxAC played a certain game on the Wii called Epic Mickey, and it was awesome. Sadly, as the years passed by, Max was unable to play their favorite video game as she lost the console, and while she does have Epic Mickey 2 on Steam, it's not as great as the first game. So Max was left to wonder what could have been, and if she will ever get the chance to play their all-time childhood favorite, until now. Sorry for the bizarre intro, but I just needed to emphasize how much this game means to me. When it was announced last year that Epic Mickey was getting a remaster, I was acting like a teenage girl who found out their OTP was canon, and when I finally bought and played the game, it was like I was transported back to 2010. Purple Lamp Studios, the remaster geniuses behind SpongeBob Rehydrated, took the original and, pun intended, gave it a fresh new coat of paint with updated graphics, including this cute little detail seeing the paint dry seconds after you applied it. I don't know why I wrote that in the script, I just thought it was a cool inclusion. The gameplay is pretty much the same for the original. You run, jump, spin, and platform your way across levels and in the open hub world. And for those who lived under a rock and don't know the story of Epic Mickey, basically, a world where forgotten Disney characters can inhabit was created. And because of a certain rat, it got accidentally destroyed and inadvertently created a monster that turned this world into a wasteland, and dragged the rat along with it. You know, it's kind of ironic that this game is 15 years old and somehow predicted the current state of its company. Though since we play as Michael Rat, armed with a magic paintbrush, you go across several Disney worlds and attractions to find your way home. With the pain and thinner serving as a karmatic system in this game, where your choices can either lead Wasteland being restored to its glory with several bosses being redeemed, or have Wasteland become even more of a wreck than before and everything else is either dismantled or depressed. What I love about this game is that the game gives you the freedom to decide what you want to do and doesn't punish you if the decision was bad. They just show you the effects of your actions, and this also applies to the multiple side quests you can accept in this game. The only thing that's stopping this game from becoming a 10 out of 10 masterpiece for me is that it doesn't have a manual save feature and relies on autosave, which would be fun on its own, but if you're like me trying to platinum this game, you better have a guide pulled up on how to complete a paint/dinner run, because even the smallest hiccup can mess up your game route. Oh, what's that? You accidentally completed all of Madame Lenona's requests and then the blood because you have no other choice? Tough shit! You're gonna have to play through the entire goddamn game again and clean the long enemy gauntlet towards the end to get the achievement you want. Despite these issues, I still enjoyed this remaster with its quirky, colorful, and dark sense of humor. And this might be just huffing copium, but I hope this game is successful enough that we might get an epic Mickey 3. I know it's a reach considering Disney is, well, Disney, but let me have this, okay? I can only get so much joy nowadays while the world is on fire! This next entry is short, but it kind of speaks for itself. TMNT Splintered Fate, the franchise answer to what will happen if it was a roguelike game. You go through various runs buying upgrades and power-ups, and when you die, you go back to the hub world and can use the in-game currency to purchase permanent upgrades and make yourself even stronger. Basically, if you played any roguelike game before, you'll find this game very familiar. I had a ton of fun playing this, and while some of the bosses were frustratingly hard to the point where I call it cheating, looking at you, Mr. Karai, I did appreciate the challenge and enjoyed the rush I felt when I finally conquered it. As for the story, the goal is just to find Splinter and save him from wherever he is. And I knew that when I finally defeated the Shredder, there was a lot more going on than a simple kidnapping. Recently, they added Casey Jones and Metalhead to the fighting roster as DLC, along with new game mode challenges for those who are looking for something new. Overall, TMNT Splinter Fate is the type of game that I'll come back to from time to time whenever I need a stress reliever. And on the subject of stress relievers, the last game I want to talk about is a game that technically doesn't have a release date yet as it's still in early access on Steam, but it's one of the better early access games that I played this year. It's called Fields of Mistria, a pixel art farming sim that anyone who's a fan of Stardew Valley will definitely love. Its cozy nature makes it the perfect game to relax to, and it's surprisingly addictive. Like, I'm not even kidding, I managed to clock in 90 plus hours on this game, and it just recently updated to include more events and characters, and the option to choose who you want to date and invite them to hang out. Which means I finally get to date best boy Marge. Let's go! I'm surprised this game was in early access only for a year, and by the time this video comes out, the devs plan on releasing major additions by next year. I know there will be updates and patches as per the course for gaming nowadays, but for what we've got here, it isn't too bad. So if you haven't checked out Fields of Mistria, then I strongly recommend checking it out for yourself. And that's all the games I played this year. There were a few more contenders, but I think I'll save them for next year after spending more time playing them. So it's time to move on to the next segment, that being Beloved Guests. We are gathered here today to mourn the passing of the dearly departed Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, a show that I previously talked about before in last year's video, and how it could have gone far if the network it was a part of had given it a chance. At least the second half of Season 2 gave us some closure to some of the plot lines it left behind regarding Lunella's relationships with her mother and the Beyonder. At least it ended on a decent note, with the characters heading off to another destination. Now, if the writers or the creators of the show pull a Dragon King and make a continuation by creating a Kickstarter campaign, that would be one of the biggest middle finger to Disney, but only time will tell regarding this series. So, farewell Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, you weren't here for long, but you were an enjoyable show. Press F to pay respects.
It's been 84 years.
I'm honestly shocked that we got this. Between the movie being stuck in development hell for the past several years, it's a miracle we still got Season 7, or as Hulu likes to call it, the weirdly wonderful world of Gumball, at all. And it's also a miracle that not only does this season have more episodes than the usual standard streaming series of 8 to 12 episodes, but they split up those 40 episodes into 2 parts, with the first half released earlier this summer, and the second half, by the time I'm recording this, will be released in late December, and I'll be on vacation by then, so future editing Max will have to summarize their thoughts on the second half of the season. As for the first half, that really word attached to itself this season is accurate because any lifelong fan of Gumball might be weirded out by the vibe this season put out. It's not a bad vibe, but it is different enough that it might take some time to get used to the new writers. Coming from experience here, but as the season went along, I did get used to the new episodes, and there were a few standout moments, like this one, this one, and who could forget this? At least the meme culture that this show is associated with is still going strong. We don't know what the future holds regarding this series, even after the second half drops, but I hope this revival draws in new fans, and I'm happy that we got to have more Gumball that was several years in the making. Which reminds me.
It's been 84.
Whoops, I already used that clip in the last entry. Let me find a similar one. Ah, here's one.
My time has come.
After 15 long years of waiting and having an announcement and me thinking that this thing was never coming out, the newest season of Panty and Stocking finally came out, and it's like it never even left. It's kind of funny how the first episode pretty much immediately picks up where the last season left off with that shocking cliffhanger, and retroactively sort of returns to the status quo. It's almost like that cliffhanger didn't even matter and you weren't supposed to take it seriously. Which is the show in a nutshell, as it knows what it is and is not going to apologize for it. Despite the crass humor and profanity, the show does display a level of sincerity with some sweet moments, and there are some small changes to the show. For one, the Demon Sisters, Scanty and Nisocks, are now part of the main cast, which I'm happy about because they were pretty entertaining in the previous season, and their inclusion in this one has led to some pretty interesting dynamics, with Scanty and Stocking and Panty and Nisocks. Another thing is that there are new voices for everyone in the English dub, and it might take some adjustment if you're familiar with the original, but over time all the new voice actors fit their new roles, and I think they did a good job voicing the characters. Especially Scanty, Neek, Socks, and Garterbell. They sound just the same as the original, and you can't have a seasonal revival show without creating new characters, and the ones that the show introduced are already becoming fan favorites, like Weeb Guy, Gunsmith Bitch, and especially Polyester and Polythene, who are a great example on how to write likable characters with Gen Z lingo. Although I can't say everyone shares that mentality, because my friend who watched some of the episodes with me looked like he wanted to simultaneously kill me and end his existence every time these two twin twinks opened their mouths. The animation and music were spectacular, but that's part of the course for Trigger's work, though I sometimes find the vocal track mixed into the dialogue to be annoying. Overall, I'm so happy this season finally came out after so long, and excited that Amazon Prime greenlit the show for another season. Let's just hope it doesn't take another 15 years to make it. Alright, for this next entry, I'm putting these two together because they released around the same time and I have more to say about one of them than the other. So to start things off, it's crazy that I started reading the summer that Hikaru died right around the time its anime adaptation was announced. It wouldn't be the first time something similar to this happened, but anyway, the anime does a great job adapting the slow ambiance this manga brings. I was interested to see if the anime would gain any traction since it takes its time building up its mystery, and is known for being very atmospheric. But then I remember it stars two boys in their friendship together. What can I say? Yaoi sells. Let's not forget this is also a horror story, as the series will often remind you with unsettling imagery as the major conspiracy surrounding the town unravels, and its connection with the real Hikaru's family that reminds me of Gravity Falls in a way. Except this time the eldritch hoarder that is often feared wants to be human. Switching gears for a second, Togepi's original sin.
Emotional, damn it!
Seriously though, I do not recommend watching this anime if you're not in a good mental state. The fact that every episode starts up with this should give you a warning that you're about to walk into something unpleasant. Don't be fooled by the cute cover and intro. If Madoka Magica has taught the world anything, is that just because something looks cute on the surface doesn't mean they won't pull the rug under you. You're about to have a very, very bad time. But in all seriousness, I commend the studio in charge of this anime for staying true to the original story. I was surprised when the anime was first announced way back last year given the subject matter. However, when combined with the fantastic animation and stellar vocal performance, you have an anime that is not afraid to pull its punches and leave you drowning in your own tears. I'm not gonna lie, I had a different draft regarding my feelings on Fionna and Cake Season 2. Originally I had written, while some interesting concepts were explored such as Fiona's hero complex, Kat's identity crisis, and Hunter's Wizard's fear of commitment, the stakes for this season were weaker than those of the previous season. You would think that the possible threat of Finn dying would cause the pacing to be urgent, but so far, we're still stuck in Fiona's world dealing with this plotline of Fionna trying to save this spot for her friends, which is fine by itself and plays into Fiona's arc, but it's starting to take more priority than what the first 2 episodes set out to do. And I still have those issues with the criticism I have for this season. However, by episode 6, things start to pick up much faster, and I begin to become invested again as the interpersonal drama with Fionna is drawing to a boiling point, and is essentially Fionna digging her own grave. By the time I record this, there were still a few more episodes left, so who knows what the writers will go at us towards the end of the season. That's all I could say for now on this season. Let's just hope the finale doesn't fumble. Okay, time to highlight some indie stuff. While these 2 pilots have already been talked about to death, I still want to mention them. For starters, I'm happy that after distancing herself from Disney, Dana Terrence gets another chance to create a show without any restrictions, giving us Knights of Guinevere, a pilot with a lot of potential that criticizes the current state of Disney while also telling its own story. You can feel the anger and resentment Dana had towards the company in almost every frame, yet it doesn't overlap with the story Dana is trying to tell. I won't be surprised when this pilot eventually gets the green light, so it's only a matter of time before we see what Dana and her team cooked up. As for the Gaslight District, I never wanted a glitch pilot to start having episodes so badly. It's dark, creepy, cool as hell, and has some hidden lore surrounding this world and its characters. It has all the vibes that scratch my hidden interest, and I can't wait for when this show finally releases new episodes. Moving on to other shows, this one only has 2 episodes, but it has a lot of intrigue. Psycho Cuties is an adult psychological thrill that comes from Russia of all places. It stars a mad scientist and his relationship, you could say, with his resurrected assistant. I'm not going to give away too much information due to its short runtime, but if this sounds interesting, then check it out when you can. Speaking of indie shows from Russia, Metal Family was a show that was on my radar for a while now, and I'm thrilled that I got the chance to sit down and watch it. And oh man, I think I found my new favorite show. Yes, the animation quality and voicing are a bit on the rough side at the start, but by the midway point of the first season, it finds its footing. Glam and Victoria are one of my favorite fictional couples, and it's often cute how protective they are of each other.
Fuck off to your blondie!
Who the fuck mouths that shit?
All because I'm so loaded, bimbo!
Never call her that.
And overall, I'm enjoying the show so far. There's a lot of character interaction and backstory that I want to see more of, so if you haven't heard of this show yet, then I highly recommend checking out Metal Family. Though, fair warning, similar to Psycho Cuties, this show is rated 18+, so expect some unsettling scenes. Like the stuff with Glam's backstory. Ugh, rough stuff. Moving on, it's nice to see Rebel Taxi working on something original by creating his own pilot called Loki IRL. Granted, I didn't know this was a failed comic series, but for what the pilot is, it's decent enough for a concept surrounding a creator and their creation. Linklow and Mark is hilariously unhinged, with the titular characters being classic opposites attract. The Freaks of Laurel Creek seems pretty neat with the whole hunting cryptids thing while being supernatural creatures themselves. The same goes for Heathens, except it's more of a western and the trio were hunting hellhounds and using magic. And the last indie project I want to mention is something that might be considered cheating considering it's quite popular nowadays, but technically this was made by one guy, and technically this project has multiple animatics under its belt. Plus, this is my channel, I do whatever I want here. What I'm talking about is Epic the Musical. I somewhat heard about this last year and didn't know what it was until I started to look deeper into it and said, oh, it's a musical, kind of? Then when the excitement calmed down, I decided to check this out for myself to see what the hype was about. And man, the hype was real. For those who are unaware of what Epic the Musical is about, it's a concept album made by Jorge Rivera Harris, adapting that one Greek epic Christopher Nolan is trying to turn into a movie starring TikTok artists. Which sounds like a disaster on paper, but somehow it works here, and everyone does a great job with their vocal performance, including Jorge himself. For a concept album, it does an exceptional job adapting the source material while also putting its own spin on the tale, and I've listened to every song on repeat all the way through, with my all-time favorites being Warrior of the Mind, Keep Your Friends Close, Ruthlessness, Stunned For, No Longer You, Different Beast, Stilla, Dangerous, Would You Fall in Love With Me Again, and of course... And it's not just the music that helps elevate this concept album into popularity. Multiple animatics on YouTube help illustrate the music and work hand in hand with it, if that makes any sense. And together, they help create a musical that is both emotional and heartfelt. So if you haven't checked out Epic the Musical, then I strongly recommend you do. I'll include a link to the animatic movie in the description below so you can view the whole musical in full. And that's all the indie stuff I'll mention this year, because if I go any longer, I'll feel like my watch time will drop faster than the ratings of One Punch Man Season 3. So let's move on to the last segment. DogMan was definitely a weird one. While I am familiar with Dave Plinkly and the Captain Underpants series, I went into this movie blind, thinking that this would be similar to how DreamWorks adapted the Captain Underpants movie. Boy, was I wrong. It's not a bad movie per se, however it does feel all over the place and overwhelming, which makes sense considering it's canonically one of George and Harold's creative stories. But just imagine any story a kid would tell combined with the out of nowhere plot lines, fast pacing, and a dash of ADHD, and you'll have this movie. It's definitely not for me, but I still enjoyed some parts of the movie, like the visual gags, the PDs, and how self-aware it is. Well, for what it's worth, DreamWorks did a great job adapting the book, and I'm sure anyone who is a fan of this series will definitely enjoy the movie.
Know your fucking place, trash.
Okay, I think I got all of my anger out of my system. So some of you are probably thinking, wait a minute, Warner Bros. Released a brand new 2D animated Looney Tunes movie? How come I never heard about it? And my response to that is, gee, I wonder why. Nope, I'm not doing it again. I already said my piece. Despite the poor marketing from the studio and the limited window of a theatrical run, Looney Tunes The Day the Earth Blew Up was great. It perfectly embodies what makes Looney Tunes so entertaining after all these years, with Daffy and Porky being the main comedic duo of this film, and it was nice to see Petunia after a decade-long absence since the last time I seen her. The 2D animation was fluid and bouncy along with several great visual gags, and again, it's sad that the company in charge of this movie doesn't have enough faith in it as they should. Then again, we shouldn't expect much from CEOs nowadays. So if you haven't checked out this latest Looney Tunes movie, wherever you can, please give this movie the love and attention it deserves. Movies like these are a rare species currently, and they will continue to be like this if there's not enough noise to make more movies like this one. Also, somebody better call Eric Bauza because I think his wish might get granted.
It could have been wise, Daffy. We could be Wile E. Coyote right now. I hate to be political, but release Coyote versus Acme!
Never mind, we might be screwed here. Final Destination Bloodlines was one of my most anticipated movies to see this year besides the last entry in Bad Guys 2, and don't worry, I'll talk about Bad Guys 2 in a few minutes. The idea of Death killing off a family tree after their original ancestor cheated death once sounds like an interesting idea for a Final Destination movie, and the movie executes this idea well enough with its usual franchise staple, some cute callbacks to the previous movies, decently written characters, and a nice bittersweet farewell to Tony Todd. Rest in peace. If you're a fan of the franchise, this might be a nice little watch with your friends. And if you're new here, welcome to Final Destination, where fiction somehow affects reality. Twice. That's all I have to say about this entry. Short, sweet, and to the point. Although I can't say the same for the next one. Yeah, I already know what some of you are probably saying.
Why?
And the answer is simple. Pure, unadulterated curiosity. I shouldn't even say this, but since this is the world we live in, if you did enjoy the movie, more power to you. Don't be disgruntled by this friend who is about to rant her heart out, and if you want, you can skip this one. If you can obviously guess, Lilo and Stitch is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I still love it to this day. I love the characters, I love the theme of finding your own family, I watched the sequels, the spin-offs, and the TV show, so when the movie was next on the live-action chopping block, I wanted to see just how bad this movie can get. And the result? Okay, I'm not gonna blame any of the actors or special effects artists in this movie for doing the best they could with what they had. Well, most of them. No, where my frustrations lie is with the writers. To the writers of this movie, why, like every other Disney live-action movie, would you add new characters that don't add to the story and instead take away existing characters' agency? Seriously, Nani and Cobra Bubbles got robbed. Why, despite being 23 minutes longer than the original, does it add nothing to the story instead take away crucial scenes? At least it's a lot shorter compared to the other Disney live-action remakes. And as much as I wanted to complain that there was no Gantu, after seeing what Jumba and Pleakley look like, this might be a blessing in disguise. And why, and this is a significant one, would you write an ending that pisses off a majority of your audience and makes the entire journey pointless when the writers could have easily fixed this with 2 words? Online classes. And add more relevance to the old neighbor character. And give Cobra Bubbles his job back as a social worker. And make him the antagonist because of his concern for Lilo and might see Stitch as a potential threat or danger to her, which makes sense if he's both a CIA agent and a social worker in this movie. Really just put me in charge of writing the script. I could probably write a better script than this one. Sadly, we don't live in a timeline where the remake could have been decent, and unfortunately this movie made $1 billion, so a sequel is already in development. At this point, people should try to start ignoring these movies. I don't even care that Chris is supposed to write the sequel. He could easily be replaced by Disney midway through production. And I'm honestly tired talking about this movie, so let's get back to the good ones. Oh wow, what a shocker! I watch K-pop Demon Hunters, and what else can I say about this movie that everyone else hasn't already? The incredible 3D, 2D hybrid animation, the catchy songs, the fact that despite the blend name, this movie became a global phenomenon, proving that it doesn't matter how unoriginal your title or story is, all that matters is the execution. I guess I did have something to say. Really, this entry is more about another movie that I saw, which is a cult classic in its own right. To celebrate its 30th anniversary, a documentary titled Not a Goof was released on Disney Plus that tells the development cycle of the beloved A Goofy movie. I had fond memories watching this movie, and it was intriguing to see how this movie was made during the period when good old Katzenberger was still in charge. From the initial pitch of being a Goof Troop movie to bringing a new creative team just for this film, to almost getting canned by Katzenberg and redoing the film all over again because of a small error.
So it's not hard. I don't want to see this. Anybody can do this. I don't need to see this. Because I want to see the heart. I want to see the heart.
During one of those screenings that someone noticed a missing pixel. At that point, someone went back and checked the whole movie, checked all the negative, and there was a missing dot on the entire film. We were almost done with the movie, I think. You know, who would have thought that it would take us shooting a whole movie before we realized, oh great, now we have to go back and start completely over again.
It's just a great love letter to the movie and its fans, and I highly recommend you go watch it. Well, time to cash in that payoff I set up a few entries back. The Bad Guys 2 is just as fun and entertaining as the original. This time, the movie switches genres from being a heist movie to an action thriller, and focuses on Wolf's relationship with Diane. I don't know if they showed this in the trailers or not, and I could be wrong about this, but the reasons why the bad guys team up with the new antagonized team, the Bad Girls, clever name, I know, are different in the movie compared to what they showed in the trailer. which movies should do more these days instead of spoiling everything. Although we might need to check on some of these animators' hard drives because certain scenes in the movie felt like they were heading into a completely different type of movie, if you catch my drift. But I enjoyed the movie and I'm excited to see what that cliffhanger entails, if we even get a third movie, considering its box office numbers and releasing around the same time where everyone was more interested in watching that terrible Ice Cube movie. But who knows, only time will tell. Hey, I don't know how to start this other than saying, I'm sorry. I know I messed up, and I hope you will forgive me. My past actions are inexcusable, and I've been thinking about this for months now about how I'm gonna approach this. But I realized that only by confessing my mistakes can I be able to move on, so here goes. I have never seen any of the Sonic live-action movies. So it's a good thing this year I had a chance to watch all of them. Well, it's mostly because my friend heard I haven't watched the movies yet, and he generously kidnapped me to watch all of them while I was visiting him. Hey D, you wanna say?
Sprite tea is the best drink ever. Period. No comments, no more questions.
Alright. So yeah, I had a great time watching the Sonic movie trilogy. I'm what you call a casual fan of the Sonic lore, and while I was a little disappointed regarding adapting some storylines from the games, mostly from the first movie, I did come around to accepting that the films are just doing their own thing while also paying respects to their source material, with my favorite being the third film for obvious reasons, and I'm pumped for the upcoming projects they plan on releasing. So special thanks to my friend for letting me record him for that one bit in the beginning, and this was definitely worth the kidnapping. Never thought a horror movie will be the last movie I talk about this year, but here we are. Weapons was an unexpected surprise I saw this year. The vague marketing of 17 kids from one class disappearing one night and never returning was enough to draw me in, and after watching the first 5 minutes, it became clear what type of movie it is. The mystery surrounding the kids' disappearances unfolds as the movie goes along, and by the end, it gets crazy, with one of the most satisfying villain deaths in recent history. I'm aware I'm being vague here because I don't want to spoil the big twist that happens midway through the movie, but this is the best way to view this movie. Going in blind and be prepared to be surprised. And that's everything I play/watched this year in 2025. Well, that was fun. And my condolences to future editing me who has to gather everything and finish it by the deadline. If you watched this video all the way to the end or even clicked on this video, thank you for listening to me ramble for 40 plus minutes. This year was hell, but I hope this video brought some entertainment and you enjoyed yourself. So, until then, thanks for watching everyone. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell for more manga related content. Hope you have a decent day and I'll see you next time. Here's to everyone surviving in 2026. Bye!
Take a deep breath